son of... But wait a minute, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because I was gonna have everybody refer to their smartphone and look at their email. That's great. Come on, Frank. You're someplace.
I've yet to take my work email and put it on my phone.
Well, I have the city email on my phone, but it's so limited
Yeah.
on my phone.
Right.
I can't even get to I can't get as far back as the email he
Wow.
sent me with
Really?
the agenda. I wouldn't be able to
That was
find that
last
on
week.
here.
Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
always been that way where, like, my personal email, I can go really far back. The
Yeah.
city, it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, that's weird.
20 emails or
Yeah.
30 emails or
Oh.
something. It's a limited amount
I've
on
never-
my phone, at least. You know, obviously at home.
I've resisted the need to do that. And you know what? There's 15 minutes between here and home, so.
Yeah.
I try not to check it on my laptop. Gives me little sounds. I gotta shut that off. Well, I guess can we call the meeting to order, or we still do it?
Can I steal a piece of paper?
Absolutely.
In a few minutes.
No,
We're not,
I'm very unprepared tonight.
we're not in till long?
No worries. I'll give you a couple. How's that?
So again,
Yeah, wait a couple minutes
it's
here.
is it Sean Gingery? Yes, this is Sean Gingery. He's our new member.
Good, good, good. Good, good.
Did you happen to talk to Brittany at all? Was Brittany?
Brittany resigned a while
She
ago.
resigned a while
Oh, she
ago.
did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brittany resigned,
Dave Hartley
That's
is
all.
a member and Don Padlow's a
Pat
member.
was a member. Okay.
And, yeah.
Bruno
Bruno.
also had resigned too,
Bruno resigned.
last year.
But yeah, Brittany resigned like a year and a half
Oh,
ago.
yeah,
like
quite a
quite
while.
I saw her name and I just.
Yeah, no,
So she
no,
was still
she
on.
had been on it, and then when she was having her baby and everything,
Yeah, yeah.
she took a break.
She priorities too. Well, just wait a couple of minutes, maybe one more show up.
Yeah, Don is usually here.
You'll find it.
And it's hard to find parking because of this thing too. And there's no parking across the street right now.
Oh, gosh.
I'm glad I got the spot I got. All good. Basically, it's the same as April 15th, but April 25th. I made a few notes on it. Well, you know, I mean, we can start if you'd like to.
Sure, if you want to, it's fine.
Let us start.
However you want to do it.
Let us start. This is good. We did not have a meeting on October 24th because we were going to have a quorum no matter what happened, and we hope there may be a quorum tonight. But we'll see what happens on this. Bike paths. Okay. Hopefully they'll be repainted soon. I mean, obviously they said they would be taken care of in the summer. They weren't taken care of in the summer. Now we've gone through the winter. Hopefully in the springtime they'll repaint them for the bike paths on the boulevard.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just like, because there were great plans. We're talking to people about we could get a bike path to going from Rockwell Park all the way down in through Bristol and down Boulevard, and then hopefully be able to match it up with something that would go into either Southington or Plainville. But that was the biggest
Yeah,
chunk of it.
yeah, I mean, we've talked about a goal being connection to that
Right.
path that goes through Southington, Plainville,
Sure.
Farmington.
Right.
In the interest of full disclosure, I do about 700 miles on my bike a year. So.
Do you? Good for you. Good for you.
My doctor was after me to get some exercise, and I always loved biking, so
See?
about 3 years ago I took it back up.
Right. No, it's good. I have the son-in-law. My son does the same thing too. And it bothers me every time I go into Southington when I see the path, and then I remember being at Brewer's Bagels in Hamden, and it's the same path there. And it just
Right.
it goes all the way
Yeah.
from Southington to New Haven.
Sure.
It's like, wow. With the exception of Plainville in the middle. If Plainville does something, then it will go all the way through, because Farmington has one now that comes, well, a good part of it. So anyway, but, you know, that fell into it. I talked to, last person I spoke to about that was Ed Swickless, and Ed Swickless is no longer with us, so I'll try to get a hold of the current person whose name I can't remember at the moment.
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson, that's right, from the Beach Boys. You're right, okay, that's the guy.
He gets that a lot.
That's the guy, I'm sure. Oh, my God. Future meetings be the same, yeah, no problem. One of the things that we discussed, and to bring you up to date on this, was in the past, was a bus shelter for Di Lorenzo up the street building. And every place I asked, tell, the city does it, and the other one says, no, the state does it. I did speak to, when just Mary and I were here the last time, and I will talk to Lee in Public Works. Lee.
Sherry.
Sherry.
I
Why
think.
did I say Lee? I mean, anyway, whatever. Okay.
We do have a Lee in Public Works.
Oh, you do?
Okay,
Yes, we do.
so maybe, but I think I had said Sherry would be the person to ask.
She might be the first place to
Oh,
start.
there may be somebody else telling that. Okay, Sherry.
Yeah.
Is that S-H-E-R-I?
No, it's Sheree.
Sherry.
And
Got
she
it.
just got married, but she was,
She did. Oh gosh. Pierce.
she was Pierce.
Okay.
But she's still using Pierce. She's hyphenated.
Yeah, so it's Pierce
Oh, okay.
something,
Yeah.
but I can't remember what it
Me
is.
too.
She literally just got married like a month ago.
Public Works. But the only person I know her is Sue Bastian. She's not whatever.
But do you know
Got any
offhand?
ideas?
It was very frustrating to us. We've also
Yeah.
talked about the one by the hospital
Mhm.
being in disrepair.
Right.
Right.
And the one that was out here, when it got moved, we had that conversation basically in July that it got moved. We didn't know.
No.
DOT didn't even know
Where
it
did
was
you-
being moved.
Right.
Up the street.
Apparently Public Works did it,
Mhm.
but then when we go to Public Works about, cleaning one up or putting one, like we said, at Di Lorenzo Towers or somewhere in the vicinity of
Mhm.
Di Lorenzo Towers, they feign, we don't do anything with shelters.
So I believe they're controlled by the state, and that got moved as part of this enhancement project here for the parking across the street. But that's the extent of what I know about it. So Ray Rokozinski, our city engineer, would be more plugged into that. As far
But
as
you do think it's the state.
I do believe it is the state, because they service their vehicles.
Okay. I also have a note on here from, I forget who told it, maybe, talking to people in Naugatuck that we have spoken to before. They may have some in as to how we could do that thing. And I'm even thinking of, if it's a possible donation, somebody may donate it. My daughter works for ESPN in the child care area, but I'll find out who can go. I mean, they're always giving money to the Boys Club.
Yeah.
I used to be there.
And I think you go to those Naugatuck Valley meetings now.
I do.
Yes.
Well,
do?
I've been going for a while, actually.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. So one way or the other, you get it. I mean, I'm sure if we were able to get one, I will find out the cost. I looked a while back, and if I'm sure we'd be able to get one, somebody would donate the time to, put together some screws into it. I have concrete screws. I'll do it myself. But
I don't know if that'll be necessary.
I don't think so. But whatever, it would be nice.
But it is a good thing to
Yeah,
have, and
well-
to increase them. It provides safety and shelter from
Yeah.
obviously the elements.
Well, it wasn't, entirely, it wasn't my idea. It was the idea of the gentleman, I forget his name again, who had written down somewhere, who's the manager over there, when I handed out,
At Di Lorenzo's?
yeah.
Yeah, I know his name too, and he's very gregarious. And
Oh,
I
yes,
know his
oh
name.
my God. I went to drop him off the schedules and everything else for the bus
Mhm.
transit, and Canada Transit and everything else, and he mentioned at that time, he said, when people ask about that, they stand up. As a matter of fact, I think it even has the little extension that comes out like this,
Mhm.
and that's a perfect place to put it, I would think.
Sure.
But, I don't care. I mean, if we can't find anything, if somebody wants to donate one, maybe you could just put some ESPN stickers or something in there, whatever, I don't know. But it bothers me, because every time I go by there, it bothers me. And I went to the old car show, and I said, there should be one of these in here, And, because the people in there are either elderly and or disabled, and I've gone there in my thing with Wheeler Clinic to see people there, and I know it's difficult for them to get transportation anywhere. I talk to a lady on the phone in Helpline every once in a while. She tells me how she goes places. They can do. West End Corner, apparently that's still in design. The widening of Route 6 is
Hi.
moving along.
Sorry for being.
Hi, this is our new member.
Ah,
Welcome.
Sean.
Hello.
We
How
just
are you,
started a
Sean?
little while ago.
Nice to meet you.
Being
I'm Robert.
Sean, I'm Frank.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Mary, as you know.
Yes.
Rob is our staff member.
Okay.
With the Public Works Department in general,
City planner.
city planning office, city planner.
So if I say transportation oriented design, you know exactly what that is.
I can certainly take a stab at it.
Well, it's in right here. Wow, this is tremendous, actually, for people here. I wasn't sure it was going to happen. Yeah, it's good. So we only have two other people left.
We were
on
just
the
talking
issue.
about bus shelters,
Yeah.
because we've always had difficulty pinning down who is in charge of them
Mhm.
when we have one in disrepair, and we're talking about, we'd like one at Di Lorenzo Towers, which
Yep,
is
yep,
up the
that's
street here.
totally appropriate, yeah.
Well, everybody seems to think that, but nobody wants to spring for it or whatever, you know. Well, somebody probably will spring for it, but we'll still work on that.
You should see the ones they have on the busway, they're heated, they're just
Yeah, I know.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. Don Padlow and I took a trip back and forth to Hartford on all the different stops, and I'm like, wow, look at this, look at this.
We don't even have lights on ours.
Yeah. Whatever, I know, it's nice. We'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. Meeting with Department of Transportation, that was already, I think it was canceled. I'm not sure. I met with the police chief, met with the traffic officer, Lieutenant, is it,
Kazarin.
Kazarin, I always say Kazarin, it's Kazarin.
Well, actually, I think it is Kazarin.
Yeah, I
That's the way he
don't
pronounces
know.
it. I pronounce it a different way.
I think they all pronounce it a different way over there. But I met with him, and you know, it was interesting. But I got some strange signals, and number one was the fact that because Mary had received many calls and letters and whatever smoke signals from the people in that area that say
Redstone Hill Road.
Redstone Hill Road. Why is it not no truck traffic? And I've driven I live off Redstone Hill Road, so I can empathize with them. And I'm looking at him saying to myself, yeah, that's a really good question. And I was told that, and as a matter of fact, I think Dave brought that up too, that you can't put stop signs on a street, at least to slow the traffic down, even if we couldn't, which I still don't know why we couldn't, okay, because it goes from Bristol into Plainville, which then it turns onto another completely residential area if you go left, and a completely residential area when you go right. The only time you get in anything that's industrial is when you get to the other end of Town Line Road, and that's a lot closer to 177 than Redstone Hill Road. So they avoid going to Pine Street and taking a left.
What was the discussion? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is trucks that come from Plainville, we believe, to Covanta.
Yeah.
We won't use that name.
Oh, we'll find
But
out.
to industrial areas by Lake Compound.
Okay.
And they're coming from different places, and instead of staying on Route 72 and turning onto 229, they cut over somewhere in Plainville, and they come up Redstone Hill Road.
Oh, I know the way to go, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're saving lights or something,
Yeah.
okay? And then they come back the same way,
Mhm.
okay? And particularly because there's a portion that's a hill,
Sure.
and the road is narrower, and families that live there basically won't allow children to play outside, and, they get very fast, and they're so big that
They do.
The
It's
problem
scary.
is when 72 comes into 229, after we did the little thing to go across the river, there's only one lane that comes in, and they back up so far to get into that one lane, and then once you get past the turnoff, then it splits and you get a turn lane to the left and a turn lane to the right. But even that turn lane to the left, that's a very quick
It is.
left arrow.
It is.
And I take the bus, so when we come to go to Lake Ave to bus stop, sometimes we wait 2 or 3 light cycles. So it's not like they're avoiding one light cycle. They're sometimes avoiding 2 to 3 light cycles when they go that back way.
I've sat there for 2 or 3 light cycles in a car, yeah. So what was the response back from
The
PD?
response back was, we couldn't do that, and because it goes from here into another town, and I couldn't understand what that meant.
it's some sort of state rule
Interesting.
that we
Yeah.
can't say no through trucks
Okay.
on Redstone Hill
Okay.
because it connects to Plainville.
Okay. Interesting.
And we
So
don't
if it was
like
within
it.
Connecticut, or within Bristol, we could do it.
Right, apparently if it was a street that was only in
Interesting.
Bristol.
Well, technically, the right-hand side of the street, if you turn right, is in Bristol, but the left-hand side, as you're going south, is in Plain. It's a very strange thing, and then you get to the corner where it is Plainville, Bristol, and then it becomes Southington on the right, and it remains Plainville on the left. So it's very, very strange. I don't quite understand.
It's right out of order there.
There are people that go up and down. But I have to tell you that I did a little research on this thing. In my travels, I go to Wethersfield every Tuesday night, and I take a few back roads, and I take a few odds and ends. And it's done putting stop signs at certain intervals to keep the traffic from going fast.
And annoying the trucks enough so that
they would go the other way.
Go back
That's
to
right.
72.
Right. It doesn't even have to be a
Gotcha.
cross
Now I
street.
understand.
There are many places, Slater Road, for example, on New Britain is the best example. It's big, it's open and wide. There are many stop signs that have no reason to be there except to stop, It could be one street coming in, but it's not a four-way stop.
Right.
It's a three-way stop. And New Britain is full of three-way stops. And Weathersfield has this Wells Street, which goes from New England to Weathersfield, which has got, it's got a stop sign. It has a blinking red light. And I know why, because they're going up hills and coming down hills, and the traffic is never going crazy there. And, they'll take the Berlin Turnpike instead, but that's only a shortcut to do it. But if it can't be done, it's being done. I guess if that's an excuse, I really don't know if that's a great excuse.
I've often heard police officers anecdotally say that when you put up stop signs, that they don't necessarily think that it improves safety. It actually decreases the safety of the road because people start blowing them, and there's just all kinds of issues associated with more stop signs.
That's interesting.
I just picked that up anecdotally.
Never thought of it that way.
So did the traffic officer talk to you about stop signs specifically, or just about that whole through
No, he
truck?
talked about the through truck thing. The stop
Yeah.
sign came up when I brought it, I think Dave Hartley, I asked him. The true traffic, again, is through and I still don't understand that, to be very honest.
But the issue is they need to come back and do a study on 72 to 229. Because the theory, and it made sense at the time, is that when 72 got finished, you would have all this extra traffic coming, and if you put that bridge across the river to go in a line up, you would get a lot of people going there. And what we found is that is actually never busy, and that left is just unbelievably
right.
busy.
Well, and
all
because
the
we
way up.
do have the 2 industrial parks there too.
Mm-hmm.
Plus lake compounds, like in the summer,
Well, people
I'm
are
sure.
coming from Bristol going the other way too, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to do a little study on it, an actual, and not ask anybody's money, but actually look at it myself.
But doesn't the state, after they do a project, doesn't they come back and do a congestion study and say, did we get this? Like, could
If
it
we
be a
ask for it,
traffic
I
light
guess.
timing thing?
If
Do they
we
need
ask
that
for it.
left arrow to be a little longer so that more cars can make the left at a time
And,
or something?
and is that something our police department could do, or
They
would
could.
they have to be state because
It's a state road, so they'd
Okay.
have to request it, yeah.
All right.
But I think if it came through the traffic division or the police department, that gives it more weight.
Okay. Go back to see police. This is a dash cam. And folks that live in Redstone, off of Redstone Road. If I see a truck, large truck, going down the thing, I'll pull out. And I'll follow the gentleman with this, which is perfectly legal. I
Yep.
already ran this past Todd. Okay, I said, yeah, my wife asked me why I don't get one. I said, why don't you? And just for the heck of it. And then I can go home and kind of sort out videos and say, how come it went this way?
Which are the different businesses?
Well, yeah. I mean, and I'm not trying to. We want to be business friendly, but that's not the point. We got to be people friendly.
Well, I don't know that the businesses know that they're driving the big trucks in the neighborhoods.
That's true. In
no,
other
I
words,
don't think they are
Covanta
either.
doesn't necessarily know
No.
how
They
anyone's
just say,
going.
"Hey,
And
go
I
there," and that's
wasn't
it.
trying to
You're absolutely
blame
correct.
Covanta, but
Well, anyway.
it's those trucks that are particularly large,
I'm going to do a little study.
But I'm convinced it's that left from Route 72 to 229, because I'm telling you, I take the bus every day coming in Hartford, and we get through all the lights on 72, and we're just
That's right.
moving along, and then you hit that, and
You're sitting there.
and it's because it divides off, only one lane comes up,
That's
then
right.
it goes left, straight, and right,
Right.
and that left arrow is so fast, it literally comes on, and then goes off, and not many vehicles make that left turn.
Timing.
I've been out in that area doing inspections, not all the time, but, and I get caught in that traffic, and I have to go double back and go check something else, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I think we've all experienced it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Request congestion study. I just don't quite understand some of the things, but that's okay. I'm not the kind of guy that says, "Oh, okay, that's the way it is." I'd like to know why it's the way it is, and maybe find out if we can do something differently. Why not? Okay, West End Corner, still in planning apparently, and whatever, 3 years out. Last thing we had.
That's what I heard.
Okay. Widening Route 6, it's happening. I don't know, it's gonna be a question of a service road. I don't know anything about what's going on with that.
I did hear that they found basically a brook that they didn't know existed.
When they're writing the road.
Yeah.
Was it by where the hot dog place was?
Yes,
Yeah.
where you now have to take the curlicue
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Yes.
the culvert
Yes.
underneath Route 6 going basically from the north side to the
Mhm.
south side apparently was brick. That's how old it is.
Wow.
So, in other words,
They have to
I'm so
replace
glad I
it.
came tonight. I'm learning something. I
That-
didn't even
Yeah,
know.
it's
that-
amazing.
that
I
this is-
wondered
this
why
is-
last night I had to go this way.
this is
Yeah.
water
Right.
department. The water department people
Ah.
are involved in building a new culvert, I guess, or at least,
Okay.
you know, checking things out for
Very
the new
interesting.
culvert that they have to build. And so it wasn't on any of their maps
Sorry,
or
I'm making
charts
notes on you.
Wow.
No, that's fine. I'll make a
because
copy
it
of
was so
Oh,
old.
great.
But apparently,
You're good.
the
Yeah, you
brook
can
goes
find my
all the
notes.
way through, like, the ShopRite parking lot to beyond the ShopRite parking lot somewhere
Yeah.
to some other brook.
Mhm.
But,
Well, there are mapped wetlands, I know, just from looking at the wetlands map, that come down through the Bristol Farms Plaza, but they've all been filled in over the years, and that makes perfect sense. And I've wondered why there was all that activity going on
right,
there.
and I think partly weather and everything, they're
Sure.
kind of stuck now
Sure.
with that little curve because they've gotta either pull out what was there or
And are
put
there
in something new.
special rules about what they do because it's an actual waterway versus? a
I think they
drainage?
have to, I mean, I think they have to
That's true.
rebuild a culvert, like they
Yeah,
have to
right,
do
yeah.
something to connect the,
That water's gonna be able to continue to
Oh,
travel.
yeah,
Right,
they're not
yeah.
gonna plug it up or anything.
yeah. But the fact that they didn't know it was
Exactly.
there, it's
Wow.
kind of put a little glitch in there. Cause they kind of moved along
They were
quite a
moving
bit
along
these,
really good, yeah.
the last few months, it was
Wow.
much better than it was all
They should have
summer.
got a guy with a stick like this.
Housing rod.
That's right. See what's happening. I don't know, Peacedale, that was brought up, Adnan had asked that, and I really don't know what's going on with it. Somebody says it started, the Peaceboro Burlington Avenue intersection, I haven't been out in that way, so I
That's
don't know.
I thought
done.
it was done.
Is it done?
It's
Yeah,
completely
well, that's
done.
probably it though, because we haven't had a meeting.
This is
in a
it.
while.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
it's
it.
completely done.
Done, good.
They've pulled all the traffic lights are timed.
Beautiful.
All the construction vehicles are out. Everything's cleaned up. It looks really nice.
And I think that parcel on the corner where there used to be a house and they were using as a staging area has
Yeah.
actually received an 8-24 referral for the city to perhaps sell it now.
Yes,
Oh,
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Is that the one with the house that got knocked down that
It
they
got
just
knocked
planted trees on? Or is
No,
this-
it's the
No,
one
opposite corner.
closer to your house.
Yeah, where the
Like-
White House got knocked down.
Yes,
Yeah,
where the
yeah,
very
yeah.
pretty White House.
Yeah.
got
One of
knocked
those
down.
was Frank Martuka's house, in that corner. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago. 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago.
The last owner got divorced and they didn't pay the mortgage.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's not interesting. Okay, I will leave it with the officer. I have, if anybody wants, I have all the documents relating to, which you could probably just kind of download also. I just realized that, the Transportation Commission, of course, I couldn't make copies of it because I don't have my copy or printer working. But this is available. It's under Article 7. If anybody wants that, I make some copies for the next time. Maybe.
Okay, sure.
It's good to have.
On the city's
That's
website,
a lot.
if you look for, I think it's a little different now. The tabs are a little different on
Yeah.
the city's website, but if you go somehow to government and stuff, you find the city's charter.
Yes,
Okay.
of course, yeah.
And
it
Yeah,
shows-
It is a little different now.
As a matter of
Yeah.
fact,
But
that-
it shows the Transportation Commission and what
I
we're
can
supposed to do.
download it.
And just so you know,
That's probably where I got
the
it.
history here is that the state was always divided into these council of governments.
Yep.
Basically to connect Bristol to the state for these road projects that they do on state roads and other things,
Yeah.
whatever. And we got switched from Hartford to Naugatuck Valley.
Okay.
It's just they divided up, I don't know whether they made less groups
They
or
did.
more.
They did.
I
They went
think
from 15 to 11, I believe, 9 or 11.
Right.
I think it was 9.
So we're connected to Naugatuck Valley now, which doesn't make quite as much sense
Right.
for us, except that we're kind of a big cheese in that group. We're the second biggest city next to Waterbury, and then you got all the,
So you have
like,
more clout than if you're in
Yeah,
Hartford,
sure.
a
right?
little, But
And also Hartford made a strategic move. They decided to move towards I only know because I work there, they moved towards the Coventry and Mansfield area. So they were desirous of Yukon, and they didn't want to necessarily come this way, so they had to give up something this way to go that way.
Right.
That's essentially what happened.
Right, but part of it is our bus transportation all comes from Hartford.
Yes.
So we're disconnected from that a little, like we don't go to the monthly meetings about Connecticut transportation, so we're like our own
Yeah.
little island here.
Yeah.
of
But the
this-
staff in Waterbury does talk to
Hartford.
the Hartford staff, and there's
Right.
constant communication.
But I also believe that we used to have, Don used to go,
We did, to the regional planning.
Don Padlow's part of this committee, not here tonight, but
Yep.
he used to go to the Hartford meetings. Why can't he go to the Naugatuck ones?
I think Don was actually the regional planning representative when there was a regional planning agency here in Bristol.
Okay.
That's what happened, is the regional planning
Was it a
agency in
different-
Bristol
different
was divided and split apart. So New Britain went to Hartford, and we went with Plymouth to Waterbury. There is some opportunities, the Naugatuck Valley COG is deeply involved in transportation issues, but I hear what you're saying, there are connections to Hartford that haven't necessarily been reestablished.
Right.
And
So it's just hard for us to, and especially because your predecessor wasn't coming to these meetings.
Mhm.
And it was just, it's hard for us to know. We get frustrated by a situation, and I try my best to call Sherry or somebody, and we've talked to our traffic officer.
2017 was a frustrating year. It's like, I can't get an answer.
You know,
Well,
so,
I'd like to provide some resources. though.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
And
that's
I
great.
learned something here sitting tonight about the culvert on Route 6. I didn't even know, so it's valuable for me to just sit here.
You know, I was wondering why it changed, because I went down it was last night or night before, and I remember I had to go here, back around, and this way to get up across to go towards Walmart or
Yeah.
Country Road.
I ran in 2017 before. I ran into a lot of party lines. A lot of Republicans were so down on the busway that I couldn't get them to talk to me about anything. And we had a lot of stuff we were doing. We remade a bunch of schedules. I was part of a committee where we did the 924, 925, 928, and we reoptimized the times for people commuting in from Southington and Bristol. And I got more help from some Southington representatives than I did the ones up here. And the mayor wouldn't even talk to me. He'd
Yes.
walk away from me because
but he wasn't happy with buses.
yeah, he didn't want anything to do with it. And Southington's got all kinds of issues with buses. I don't know if you guys know this, but they're trying to take the 542 bus and actually run it down to get people to
Yes.
Target. And Southington has said they never want buses there. But as long as you take the Bristol 542 and you re-change the schedule
You can go.
to have it go down there, they'll let it happen because it's not a Southington bus.
Interesting.
Because they don't want buses in their city.
They don't want any.
They don't want any
buses.
buses.
Now that boggles my mind,
It's-
because
It is
I'd
frustrating.
be thinking they felt neglected.
Yeah.
You know, that they should
I
have
do
them to
too.
Hartford at least,
Yep.
you know.
There were all these rumors. People said that these commuter buses were going to be bringing all these piles of drugs and they'd
You know,
be and all these things.
There is a
and-
stigma regarding the
Right,
bus.
there
okay?
is.
And it's, I grew up as a kid in New York City. Nobody needed a car.
Yeah,
Well,
everyone
my
took the
uncles had
bus,
a car,
yeah.
but everybody takes the bus.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. And if you take the bus now, which you do, you will see there's all kinds of people that take the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? But they have this thing about autosol, drug dealers, people get shot. When was the last time anybody did you ever heard getting robbed on a bus or getting injured on a bus, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
There's
It
so many
happens more in
cameras on it.
parking lots outside. But they have this thing about them. It's a terrible thing. Yeah.
And I think there's also an issue in Bristol specifically, because someone like you that takes the bus,
Mhm.
there might be 10 of you getting on a particular bus. But as you get to Hartford, it's full.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And
right.
when you come back, 10 people are going past that light at 229 and 72. And so the Bristol resident that doesn't work outside of Bristol that sees you is like, why do we have this expensive busway and all
Yeah.
these buses? Because only 10 people are using it. Like, they don't understand that we're just the end of the line. And
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Bristol.
Right, and that is actually an issue. We shouldn't be the end of the line. They
Well,
actually, there's a lot of value in continuing on further. The thing though is that it really, like, so the Waterbury, the 928 goes all the way to Waterbury, and they run every hour. But
From where?
from Hartford. But
Does it stop here or it just goes
so
to
the
what?
issue right now, and what I want to try to, I want to throw a few ideas out, but basically the issue is that when you get to New Britain, you have to switch to the 102 if you're going to come to Bristol, because the 928 gets on to 84 in New Britain, or 72 to 84, and they don't stop like on 229. But if the 542 goes to 229, there'll actually be a new way into Bristol, because the 928 could be asked to stop at Target Plaza, and then you could get a 542 and come up that way. So there's different angles, but anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Now, what group were you involved with that was trying to change the schedules?
So let me just give you my background, since I'm new to this whole committee,
Yes,
and
yes.
explain it. All right, so I'm an actuary. I work in Hartford at Aetna, soon to be CVS. And so, there's a lot of, value to going into the city in my profession. So it's better to be in the, going to Hartford. And so I've been doing this now for probably 15 or 20 years, going in on the bus. And what I do very unique and different than everyone else is my wife also works at the same company. We drive to work in the morning at 5:45. We leave Bristol, and I leave my car across from City Hall, and we go into Hartford. And then in the evening, I work later hours than her, so she comes home, and I'll take the bus home. And some days she doesn't go in, and I go bus both ways. So I ride all the different buses. But when I first got involved in it, what they were doing in Hartford was so completely stupid. You'll not believe this. They would go and pick up at Aetna, up on Asylum Hill, and they would drag all those passengers all the way downtown Hartford
To travelers.
to Travelers, pick everybody up, go under the highway at Market Street, go back up around and get on the highway and head out. And so this would take 20 or so minutes. So it was not viable for a Bristol resident to want to take the bus if they were not downtown Hartford. So all of the Hartford and Etna and all the Salem Hill, nobody was interested. So when they created the busway, Aetna made a deal that they would give up their parking lot to create a bus station called the Sigourney Street Station for Fast Track on one condition, that they would be one of the top recognized transportation-friendly companies in Hartford. So we want, you will cater to us, we will make, things with you right. So what one of the deals that we got that we really loved is now, when we go Points West, we literally walk out of Aetna, get on the bus, and go home. We
Go
don't,
west.
we
You don't
west.
go-
You go
We don't
Asylum
downtown.
Avenue toward West Hartford.
Or do you get right on the highway?
get
You're right.
on
We
the
get on the
fast
highway.
track.
Am I talking
No,
about
no,
courses
we
right
take
now?
the
Yeah,
fast track.
You're
We
right.
take the
That's
fast
right. It's right down. Yeah.
This caused a major stink, because now all the people downtown, from the Travelers, everywhere else, are now being drug up Farmington Ave, Asylum Hill, and the buses are never on time because of all the traffic lights before they can cut past that and get on the busway. So they've been they were fighting, and they threw a stink up, and they said that they wanted the bus to get on at Bushnell Park at the fast track and skip the Hartford, skip all these other businesses. And there was one Bristol resident who, for various health reasons and others, could not make the journey from the Hartford over to the fast track station. And so I agreed to help her and others to go and get, and we sat down and we worked out a deal, all the bus riders, and we made a bunch of schedules, and we basically came up with a way that everyone could sort of be happy. So we did Southington, Cheshire, Bristol, and Waterbury, and we made a better schedule. But I will tell you, the downtown people are still very frustrated. And what would be better in Hartford is for them to have a way to get, out of Hartford without going up to Asylum Hill. So the better way would be to circulate through the Asylum Hill route. So that's all
So do
Hartford.
you almost think it should be like alternating buses, like, the 5 o'clock bus leaves from Etna, the 5:10 leaves from Travelers, and then the 5:20.
That's what
something
we
so
did
that everyone.
with the 924, the 925. We basically, that's what they did. They came up with some alternating schedules to solve and time them in such a way that it would work better. We worked with the timing guys at CT Transit. The bigger issue, though, that still lingers, is that the Hartford doesn't charge for parking, and they don't penalize you for driving your car, and they don't encourage people to take the bus. And so the fact that they're not getting a lot of ridership is because the economics aren't favorable to take the bus. So you're basically dragging all these travelers, people, and downtown people past stops where they never pick anyone. There is one person at any given time that gets on by Bank of America, which is the closest stop to Bristol. And they change the route and don't tell the rider. So the bus drivers, the Bristol bus drivers, are getting on down at Bushnell Park, or they're cutting over to Capitol Ave, and they're sneaking away to the backside because in their mind they believe the only place they need to stop is at the CT Fast Track station before they head out, and so they're leaving people behind. So that's one issue. The other issue is that because they lose time on the schedule trying to get out to Bristol, they're not waiting in Hartford. So they're actually pulling in, and they have a 5-minute rule. So you have to be at the bus stop 5 minutes before they leave. They're leaving 6 minutes early, like right on the cusp of ridiculous. And then passengers come out, and then they don't get a bus, and then they get frustrated. This is causing quite a bit of controversy amongst the bus riders, and the Bristol riders are frustrated, and I basically agreed to try to get involved and make it better, because I'm a firm believer that we are sitting right now in a position for Bristol to be one of the best bedroom communities for Hartford commuters because of the busway. It is consistent. The schedule's bad right now. We're 5 to 10 minutes late all the time, and I've been working with the schedulers on this, but it is consistent that you get home the same exact time every day since the busway started. This was never the case with 84. When we used to take the bus on 84, if there was an accident, you could be 15, 20 minutes late, et cetera, et cetera. The busway came, and we are consistently able to leave Hartford and arrive in Bristol late, but consistent time. So all you got to do is fix the schedule, and you'd be fine. And I think I've seen the ridership come up, and I think we're at a cusp of really big ridership growth, but I think we got to increase incentives. So I can't get to Hartford to penalize people in charge of parking, but what I can do, and we've talked about this, is on the other end is we can incentivize people. So Fast Track has a program where if you ride the bus and you present a certificate, I'll show you one that I have that says that you rode the bus, you can get a transfer, which is this guy right here that shows the time you rode the bus. Also, they've gotten away from these punch cards, and they've replaced them with these digital cards that are magnetic strip, and on it prints the time and the date that you rode it. So there's 51 businesses along the Fast Track that if you walk in and you say, I just rode the bus, they will give you a discount on your purchase. So if you go to Corner Pug in Weathersfield, so like Weathersfield, or West Hartford actually, I didn't see this, they'll give you 20% off your meal.
No, I like Weathersfield. It's good.
Right. So they'll give you 20% off your meal if you show them this, right?
Yeah.
So we could get the area businesses, and I do want to start talking to them. You can get a discount that is actually more than your bus fare. So let's say you get off at the City Hall and you go over to Bristol Pizza, and Bristol Pizza decides they want to do this, and they give you $5 off your pizza. You just rode the bus for free.
For free. That's right.
So these are the types of things I think that
And
would
people
help.
don't quite understand that, and you realize how much I always get a kick out of it. They say, "Well, we have free parking here." But if you drive from Bristol to Hartford, do you spend back and forth? Do you spend $3 worth of gas? Do you burn just a little over a gallon of gas? Of course you do.
So when the gas was $4 a gallon, what we saw was a very high ridership.
you couldn't even get a bus sometimes. They were actually doing these piggyback buses where the bus would come into the stop, the back bus wouldn't open the door, and if the front bus got full, the back bus would pull forward and open the door. That's how good ridership was at $4 a gallon. And as soon as the prices of gas started to go back down, the ridership went back to normal levels. But a lot of folks don't even know, like some of these express buses, they don't even know that they go on the fast track. They think you're still sitting on 84.
Right, right. Again, it's education what's happening in this town, and you brought something that was very interesting when you said that it's a great bedroom community for Hartford. There are people in this town that don't look at us that way. You know, it's like I know some people. I don't know if they're still around, what they're doing, but I didn't want 72 out there because the people would be leaving Bristol. Oh, really? That's interesting. I mean that sincerely. I've actually heard a human being say that.
Yeah.
And they're very provincial when it comes to that. You know, we don't want you going outside of town. Well, I live on the corner. I live on Redstone, off of Redstone Hill Road.
Where everyone gets on 72 and goes out of town.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Why didn't you build anyway? Anyway, I'm here. Sluggington is there. Plainville is here.
Yeah.
The only time I come into Bristol to do any shopping, so to speak, is because I like Bob Wallenberg at the Beacon Pharmacy, and I come to see him once every 3 months or something, get a refill. But other than that, the shopping is right there. It's next to me. We don't have a furniture store in this town. If it wasn't the Big Lots, there wouldn't be a furniture store in this town.
We had Tenties for a lot of years.
Well, yeah, but things
I still have
disappeared.
his dryer.
Things
Still
disappeared,
works.
but there are a lot of things. Well, why would people want to come? It's not a matter of why would people want to come here. It's a matter of why people wanted to go from here somewhere else. Not to live, not to go pay taxes in that town. I like West Hartford. I like going here. I like going there. But I like coming back here, and I have no problem paying taxes in Bristol.
Yeah, but don't forget with the new tax law change where you can only deduct $10,000 worth of taxes, West Hartford just lost its value proposition. Because people were deducting those big tax bills, and you can't do that anymore. So there's a lot of people are going to be moving further out and looking for ways to do it. One more thing on this discount thing.
Continue at the bottom, sorry.
It's free advertising. So once you do it, all the business get advertised on the CT Fast Track website as a commuter-friendly business. And when people go and click on it, they find out about it. And you can also, there's also ways you can do it through the social networking side of things. But I want to get, before we could really get a lot of advertising, I want to get a lot of business interested. So I was actually going to find out what it takes to get listed and how big the discount has to be. As long as, it's got to probably at least be 5% they'd have to give, otherwise, why bother, right?
Yeah.
And then start approaching the businesses and make them aware of it, tell them, what are the forms that they'd have to fill out to get registered and things like that.
That's something you might want to talk to Mark in the BDA.
Yes.
I
Okay.
don't know what his last name is.
Mark Thomas.
Mark Thomas. And you have to realize I feel like I've been spread very thin since the election. I want to do so many things,
Yeah,
and I'm
of course.
talking to so many people. And I'm not a BDA board member anymore, but Mark Thomas is a relatively new employee in our Bristol Development Agency. And his job is marketing
Nice.
for Bristol.
That's awesome.
And that Bristol All Heart
Yep.
logo,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we have
yeah,
a marketing committee that encouraged having a permanent employee hired, and
Got it.
so he works on that website, but he works with businesses too,
Yeah.
and he tries to promote things. There's also the Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
Right.
but
I
if
think
you want,
start with Mark, though.
but if you want to start
Yeah.
with Mark,
That's a good idea.
that might be something that he could do some of that legwork
Yeah,
for you,
that would be
because
awesome.
he's trying, he may be out talking to businesses about something
Sure.
else and throw that onto the
Yeah.
list of things that he's talking to them about.
There's also a email blast opportunity, because when I did some charity work, we did some email blasts through the Chamber of Commerce, and I tell you, a lot of these businesses don't even know things like this exist.
That's one of the things. It's education, what exists. The same thing with all the transportation thing. We had a last year, at the library. Lady came down, spoke on all the various things. I worked a little part-time on Helpline, Wheeler Clinic, and people ask me, I can't get from here to there, and I say, well, yes, you can, and then I try to explain as much as I can to them. They don't know. They just don't know.
Yeah, this lady came, it was particularly, we did this in conjunction with the Disability Commission.
Yep.
Right.
Well,
Showing,
that's part of why busing is important.
Yeah.
right, but showing people there's all kinds of services if you live within 3/4 of a mile of a bus route. you can get one of those fancy lift vans to
Right.
pick you up and bring you, like if you're disabled and you've gotta go to Yukon to a doctor or to Hartford for a doctor's appointment, like there, and like when she was listing all the things, I mean, it was quite
Oh,
amazing,
I was
all the
overwhelmed.
different services.
Somewhere I have the whole package.
Yeah,
Right.
one more thing I would say too is that even if you aren't right on the bus lines, like give you an example. So when I knew I was going to be late, I went and I said, well, if I got off at Kia Crowley, so I ended up getting off at City Hall, but if I got off at Kia Crowley, an Uber from Kia to City Hall is only $7, right? So an Uber from Hartford to Bristol is $50, right? So there's a lot of people that don't live quite close enough. They could still use various other ways to get them to get into the network to then transfer to other things.
There we go.
So I definitely think getting the marketing going. The other thing I'm just going to throw out there too, and I know people don't like to talk about the Depot Square, whatever it's called downtown now, but the Pontiac Center in West Hartford was knocked down because, you know, when GM was cutting brands, they cut the Pontiac. And they put a transportation-oriented design building in there. It's almost done. The top 3 floors are apartments. The first floor has storefronts. The back has carport parking, so you're going underneath the building to not get snow in your car, and then there's lots in the back. And it is walking distance from the Corner Plug Fast Track stop. And the fact that nobody's talking about transportation-oriented design for Bristol because
Sean's
of,
gonna be so happy that he set up his machine. Go ahead.
yeah, but for the fact that we already got the buses running here, like so when we didn't have the buses running, we didn't have the frequency that we had. You couldn't sell anyone on that piece of property because there was no transportation infrastructure.
Right, exactly.
Now that we have it, you know, you could sell it. Like, so to give you an idea, in Colorado, so I spent a lot of time in Denver when my dad was sick. You've got this train that runs up and down from the Denver Tech Center up into northern Denver, and all along the train, they've got the TODs. And so basically, you get off the train, and there's a parking lot, and there's all stores. Above the stores is apartments for young people commuting into the city. And then right outside of this area is housing developments with cul-de-sacs. So the families just drive 2 minutes or walk. They've got all their stores, their restaurants, and everything. The younger people have all the apartments, and the train is providing the transportation into the city for sporting events, everything. It's amazing to see this stuff. And we're ready to do this right now.
I know, and so you gotta talk to Mark again.
All right, so this is another one from Mark.
Because that's what, I mean, and you gotta ask, I mean, seriously, you almost have to take a day off and go into the BDA office
Yeah.
and look at all the ideas they have for Depot Square. And they're not
I've
as-
read all the books and I've seen everything. The thing that I always got caught up on is there's this promise of rail coming back. And everybody knows, who knows anyone who took rail, the problem with rail is it never gets you where you need to go. Buses get you where you need to go.
Right.
And much closer to where you need to go. And so CT Rail is starting in May in Hartford, and they're going to run up down to New Haven and up to Springfield. And that's all great. But for us, to ever even think that a train was going to come by Depot Square, and
This is what I'm having. So the guy is retired and the guy is a veteran. I said, you know, there are ways you could, work this out. Did you really? Yeah, really. As a matter of fact, I just got a letter. As a matter of fact, the whole thing about you put in 3 spots. What is it? 50 hours a year of a voluntary, something that'll take $300 off your tax. Or 50 hours. Well, 50 hours a year is an hour a week. You can't do something for an hour a week to take $300 off your taxes. It's pretty good. Work 52 hours for $300. That's not bad. That's $15. I think that's pretty good. But I'm glad you are able to look outside the boundaries of Bristol and see what's going on here, because that's what frustrates me many times. Because like I say, I was a kid, I was in New York, but I moved up here. But I worked in New Haven for a long time, so what's going on? I work at Wethersfield now, and I go through New Britain, I see these things, and I say, why? Why can't that happen in this town? And it can.
So one of the things I was thinking for education, again, aside from marketing, is just general education. So I talked to the mayor a little bit about this, and I want to do a blog. And so I opened up a blog on WordPress. I haven't posted anything on it, so I want to talk to you guys first. But basically, I think people can't visualize it. So when you talk to people and you tell them what their opportunities are, they can't visualize this as a transportation-friendly city. And when you actually give a description of it. So like, I've been interviewing people. So I talked to two people so far already. One person takes the bus from Bristol to the 923, 928, 923, the express bus to New Britain. Then he switches to a local bus for a free transfer, and it takes him right to CCSU. He pays $30 a semester, and that includes his busing. So I don't know if you guys know this, but all college kids get free busing anywhere in the state now, free public transportation.
See, that's awesome.
It's just awesome. So that's
They
one
had
kid.
that when I went to Central.
The other one that I want to interview for my blog is it's an employee who lives in Thomaston. He drives to Bristol, Lake Ave, or downtown. He parks his car. He takes the 923 bus to Sigourney Street Station in Hartford, which is your first true Hartford station. He walks 10 feet, gets on a bus called the 913 bus, and it's the Yukon bus. And he takes him all the way up to stores in Yukon.
What's a store? I tell you that.
In stores. And